For your pork and fried pickle burritos, you are going to need your pork, your buns, your pickles, some mayo, ketchup, Monterey Jack cheese, tempura batter, potatoes, and this time I actually am using a vegetable oil because we're going to be deep frying, pan frying, some pickles and some salt and some pepper. So I've scrubbed my potatoes. I'm not peeling them. And I've preheated my oven to 425 degrees. For the larger, as you can see the size difference, for the larger potato, I'm gonna cut them in half. And then I'm gonna cut these kind of into thirds just by angling my knife, like so. And then for the smaller potatoes, I'm just gonna cut in half and then cut in half again. And I'm gonna do that with my remaining potatoes. So my potatoes have been cut into wedges. I actually am gonna use olive oil for this, drizzle them with some olive oil, and then we're just gonna salt them and pepper. If you wanna add a different seasoning, feel free. Add some Tony's, add a little bit of cayenne, whatever you want. Just make sure to season them well. And we're just gonna give these a little toss and make sure that everything's kind of coated. And what I personally like to do is make sure that every potato is sitting on the skin side down like this, and that there's room between each one. I just find that they'll cook more evenly. They'll get that more fried kind of taste and texture to them and stay nice and crispy. Like as you see this one, they're stuck together. So all that's gonna do is crisp up one side of the potato and not the other side. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get these all turned over, and then they're gonna go into the upper rack at our 425 degree oven for about 20 to 25 minutes until they are nice and browned. For our pork patties, we are gonna add about a half a teaspoon of salt. Feel free to measure, I'm just eyeballing. And again, if you wanna add a little extra seasoning, feel free. And then some pepper. And then we're just gonna kind of give this all a good mix. And I always like to use my hands. If this disgusts you, I guess use a spoon or put on gloves if you have some. But you wanna make sure that all that salt and pepper is mixed in. And then I like to just kind of like form this into one large kind of patty, and then kind of just eyeball it, cut it in half. And what you want to do when you're making your patties is I just kind of like form it and twist it. And then you're going to want to make your patties bigger than your bun, because what's going to happen is as they cook, they're going to shrink up. That fat is gonna melt when they hit the heat, and they are gonna start to just shrink up and become giant hockey pucks. So you want them, you know, quite a bit bigger than your bun. So there's patty number one, and I'm just gonna do that again to make patty number two. So for my pickle batter, I have half of the tempura batter right here. We're gonna add a little pinch of salt, little pinch of pepper, and then I have 4 tablespoons of cold water that I actually put into the fridge to keep nice and cold. And we're gonna give this a good whisk. And it should look like pancake batter, and this does not look like pancake batter. This absolutely needs more water. That is way too thick. So let me grab some more water really fast. But my bowl is nice and cold still from being in the fridge. So even just taking some water from the faucet, it should be nice and cold. Even that looks a little too thick. You want it a little bit thinner than, just a little bit thinner than that. Because you want to be able to like dunk the pickles into it. That's looking more about the right consistency. So that's kind of what you're looking for. But I just have a tiny bit of water left, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add it. And then we're just gonna let this batter rest for a minute while we cook our pork patties. I'm letting my pan preheat right now for my pork patties. And right now I'm gonna go ahead and have my buns. As you can see, they kind of already have an indication of where you should cut. So I'm just gonna carefully kind of follow that line. And just give these a nice cut in half. As you can see, my cast iron pan here that I have to cook my pork patties in has been getting nice and hot. I'm gonna hit with the drizzle of oil. And my patties have already been seasoned internally. If you wanna season them on the exterior again, please feel free. And that is the noise you are looking for. And we're just gonna go ahead and cook these about 4 to 6 minutes per side. My patties have been cooking several minutes, and as you can see, they've kind of started to shrink up. I'm gonna go ahead and give them a good flip, and that is exactly what you're looking for. This is why it's important to preheat your pan. And then I'm gonna let these cook for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then I'll go ahead and add my cheese. So now that I have flipped my patties again, I'm gonna go ahead and top each one of these with some cheese. Like so. And if you have a cover, go ahead and cover them, let that cheese melt. If not, the heat should go ahead and, melt it itself. All right, now it is time to fry our pickles. So the remaining pickle slices, I have patted dry. I am going to toss them all into this batter. And I've heated about 1/3 of a cup of oil into this pan. And the way we can test to see if the oil is hot enough, which it clearly looks like it, is if that happens and that batter cooks. So what I'm doing is I'm just gonna go ahead and toss all my pickles into the batter. And the one thing you absolutely do not want to do, you don't want to just dump all of this in. You want to make sure all your pickles are coated. And then go ahead and kind of drop them in one at a time. And then you should have a paper towel lined plate ready to go, because these are going to cook up fairly quickly. No more pickles. You're going to want to give them a little toss. Kind of looks like funnel cakes. And these really are just gonna take a quick second to cook. Not a quick second, but I mean, not long to cook on each, if I can flip them over. So these ones already look done. So I have my paper towel lined plate. I'm gonna go ahead and grab these. We wanna drain them on the paper towel lined plate. You want to make sure they're nice and brown on both sides. Right. So just go ahead and as soon as they're done, remove them from that hot oil. And then we can start assembling our pork burger. All right, so for our pork burgers, we have our potatoes, we have our toasted buns, we have our patties, we have our special sauce, and we have our fried pickles. So go ahead and assemble. And as always, I look forward to seeing your presentation.